Baseball is a game of failure, and if you're a little league coach, you've probably uttered those words to the kids on your team before. But it's just as true for us as coaches. If you are constantly trying to get better as a coach, you are going to make mistakes. You are going to fail at different times. We're just coming off of our final regular season game of the night tonight, and I made a mistake where I got out of line and yelled at a kid to go, even though I wasn't the third base coach, and added a bunch of confusion. And in the end, the kid ended up getting thrown out. And so I was kind of reflecting on that because my son also had a difficult night with a rough pitching performance and making a mistake on the base paths. And so I was just kind of reflecting on this idea of making mistakes and why it's actually a good thing. So let me give you 5 reasons, and stay tuned to the end. I'm going to give you a bonus reason for all of you parent coaches why it's good to make mistakes as a Little League coach. First of all, it keeps you humble. Baseball is a humbling game. It is just designed to be in the way where it doesn't matter how good you are, the game will find ways to humble you. As a Mets fan, Juan Soto just signed this huge contract, and he is not playing up to his normal standard. Because why? Not because he's a horrible player, but because baseball is a humbling game. And there are countless stories over the years, and probably countless players on every single team who are struggling in one way or another because baseball is a humbling game. It is hard to hit a round ball with a round bat squarely, but it's just as hard to pitch a ball really fast into a really small box where a pitcher is ready to hit anything that gets into that box. It's a humbling game. And the same thing can be true as a coach, that you can be grounded, you can stay open to growth, you won't get too big of a head on your shoulders when you make mistakes. Now, I'm not saying you go out and try to make mistakes here, but just know it's okay because it's going to allow you to be humble. Also, it's going to allow you to relate to the kids, and you can use your examples of, hey, when I did this, this was something where I got out of line. This is something where I did the wrong thing, where I made the wrong decision in the moment, but this is how now I'm recovering from it. This is how I'm changing going forward. This is what my steps to resolve this problem are going to be, because you can basically teach kids how to overcome their failures in the right way, in the positive way. And so I know sometimes as coaches, the tendency is for us to get defensive and like, oh, I was just doing my best. But like, if you make a mistake and you can own up to it and you can explain to the team, like, yeah, this is how I did, or explain to the individual kid, or even just explain to the other coaches, hey, this is where I messed up and this is my plan. It's going to help you with being relatable to the team as a whole, because they're going to realize, hey, you're not fully yourself. You are being humbled and you are staying humble, and you do that. The next thing is it models resilience, right? This whole idea of baseball is you have to be able to come back. You have to be able to strike out 4 times in a game, in the 5th plate appearance, be ready to make the game-winning hit. That's why baseball is such a unique sport. You have to be able to pitch 10 balls in a row and still be able to pitch the next pitch as a strike and figure out a way to get a batter out. And we often look highly upon players on our favorite teams who have their backs up against the wall due to sometimes even situations they've created, but they've found the way to work through it, and that's part of that growth process. Well, the same thing is true with us as coaches. If you can model this idea of being, look, I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to press on. Even though I made this mistake, I'm going to still do my best to not just quit on this team for this game or for this week, but I'm going to keep going no matter what. I'm going to do my best to help them win today, and I'm going to make the changes I need to make to not make those same mistakes again. So you model that resilience, which is really the muscle that needs to be built, that a lot of these kids are also going to need to be building in their own lives, not just in baseball, but also for the real world. The next is it encourages growth. And I mean this in 2 ways. So first of all, when you're growing and you're learning new strategies or trying new things, and you're being stretched out of your comfort zone, that's when you're going to make mistakes. So that's going to help you solidify the learning you're already doing. But it also may from time to time force you to take that next level of studying and figuring out, well, what should I have done in that situation? And so maybe you have this opportunity. Now, I'm fortunate that I am surrounded by just an absolute amazing coaching staff this year. And I'm out there, and like all these guys who have been coaching in a variety of capacities over multiple years, you know, we're always learning from each other. But maybe even if you're kind of flying solo with this coaching thing, you can go and do some research, find some YouTube videos of some other people who have been through similar situations, or maybe even a video like this can be an encouragement to you where you can say, okay, look, how I did this, how I messed up wasn't right, or how I handled my mess up wasn't right. Like maybe I knew I messed up, but I just didn't handle it in the right way. I got angry, I got frustrated, I started yelling at the team, or I quit on the team during the game, to say, okay, how can I grow to the next level? So the next time that this happens, I'll know how to respond better, or I'll know how to prevent it from happening in the first place. One of the other things like I learned tonight, I'm going to tie this in at the end, but I realized tonight, like my son for pitching tonight, I didn't actually watch him warm up. I just trusted him to go out and warm up in the bullpen by himself, but without actually watching. And I realized, like, you know what, he's not to that level yet. And so that's a simple change that I can make. I know that right now he's not to the point where he can coach himself well enough to know what, how well he's doing with his pitching, make sure that he's actually warming up in the proper way. That's just some things that he's not ready to do yet. Sure, he can warm up and play catch with other people, but when he's actually warming up to pitch, okay, that's an area of growth that I need to implement into the things that I'm doing. The next thing is this: it proves that you care. If you didn't care, then you wouldn't be making mistakes. You wouldn't be trying to get every last little, the best out of each and every kid. And sometimes when you're trying to get the best out of each and every kid, you're gonna do it. I was encouraging a kid to run who has been dealing with some injuries and stuff like that. And like, why? Because I want him to score. I wanted him to score on that play. I was excited. I wanted it for the team. And so it proves that I cared. I just did the wrong thing in the wrong moment. And I learned from that. And now I'm going to be more aware of that and try to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So mistakes mean that you are showing up, that you're giving effort, that you want the best for the kids that you're coaching. And again, as long as you're not pompous and arrogant about it and just humble, and you just kind of admit to those faults and learn and figure out how to get better, that's the way to do it. If you feel like you're in over your head in coaching Little League, that's why I put together the Beginner's Guide to Coaching Little League. It's available. It's in the description below. You can click over there. You can buy one copy, share it with all the coaches on your coaching staff. I just want to help you because I was kind of thrown into a situation many years ago where I was coaching Little League, not having any idea what I'm doing. And like I said, I've had the great benefit of working with a variety of really good Little League coaches over the last 4 years, people who know way more than me. And I've tried to jot down some of those lessons to save you a bunch of time in case you're thrown into this mix and you don't know exactly how to handle certain situations. That's why I put that guide together for you. All right, here's the bonus tip that I promised you, which is this. This goes to those of you who are coaches who are also parents. Like I said, my son had a rough day today. He got caught stealing for the final out of the game, and he was really bummed out about it. But because I had also made mistakes in the same game, it was a perfect situation because we just laid down, we snuggled, he had some tears, I felt bad for him, and we just kind of talked it through. And I started by saying, hey, I made a mistake tonight. And I shared with him, and then I shared my plan of how I was going to overcome it. And that helped him open up to say what his things that he was upset or frustrated about. And instead of it being this thing where I'm negative and I'm yelling at him and he's negative and he's yelling at me, we sit down and we put together a plan of action, which mostly involved getting a bunch of food in our bellies and going to sleep. But beyond that, we put together a plan of action of saying, okay, here's what we need to fix for the next time. And I didn't even do this conversation on the car ride home because he wasn't ready for it. But after he got home, he just went straight to his bed and was crying. And I just said, hey, let's just talk. And I asked him if he wanted to talk. He said, sure. And so we kind of talked it through. And all of a sudden, my mistake was able to be an example that I could show him and teach him how to overcome his mistakes, overcome the things that he wanted to do better. And, he still had a good game at the plate and everything else. But it was all that negative stuff that happened to him kind of overwhelmed him that he wasn't able to see the big picture. Because I asked, like, what are you upset about? He's like, everything. I'm like, oh, you're not really upset about everything. And we were able to work our way through everything. So if you're a parent coach and you make a mistake, it's all the more because your kids are going to make mistakes. And when you make a mistake, you can kind of show them that same grace. It's easier to show them grace in the same way that you would want to be shown grace by other people when you make those mistakes. So I hope this is a help to you. You can put any of your tips or reasons or benefits to making mistakes down in the comments below.